Hello guys, I'm Craig McLean and welcome to episode 38 of the MK1 Escort RS2000 reassembly. This is the episode where we're hopefully going to have better luck on the dyno. We're going to JDM Dyno again for round 2, so let's hope we have better luck this time. So I'll catch up with you when we get to JDM Dyno. Hello guys, we're back again, back at JDM for round 2. Let's hope things go a bit better this time. If you've watched previous videos, you'll have seen the issues we had and how we've hopefully resolved them. So we'll get the car in as soon as Jonathan turns up and let's see how we get on. 196 brake horsepower before we do the exhaust timing. Fucking chuffed to bits. So guys, it's worth noting at this point we then went on to retard the exhaust timing by 8 degrees as per Retro Ford's recommendations. And after retarding the exhaust timing by 8 degrees, I thought we're going to make over 200 brake horsepower here. But after Jonathan had made a couple of light tweaks after retarding the exhaust timing, we then found it had actually made exactly 196 brake horsepower again. Now, some people, I think, have had gains by actually advancing the exhaust timing. They've had gains that way. And we did talk about it on the day. Why don't we try going the other way? But we just decided that we were absolutely over the moon with the power it had made. It was I was absolutely doing cartwheels on the day with the power it had made, and I was perfectly happy to leave it as it was. So we decided, you know, it's done well. It's done fantastically well. Let's leave it alone. You know, leave it alone. Leave it as it is. And I actually drove the car home from the dyno day that day. A very, very, very happy guy, I've got to say. It turned out a fantastic day in the end, and it really couldn't have went any better. After the start we had, I probably haven't mentioned yet, but the start we had, we thought we were going to have another failed dyno day because the car was failing to produce power at the top end because it was running very lean, and Jonathan had to significantly increase the fueling at the top end. We actually thought at one point that he'd had a fuel pump fault, but anyways, Jonathan managed to resolve it, and the end result was the 196 brake horsepower that you see, and it actually made 180. And Jonathan said, you know what, I think it's slipping on the rollers. I think it's actually wheel spinning on the rollers. So he jumped out, he tightened the straps up at the back, jumped back in, and then it made 196 straight away. So yeah, as I say, I went home from this dyno day very, very, very happy, and I still am. So it's day after dyno day. Still haven't come back down to earth, I don't think. What a fantastic day yesterday turned out to be. Like I say, it nearly went wrong. It very nearly went wrong, but I'm so pleased. It's such a massive weight off my mind now to have this sorted. It really, really is. I've had a lot of sleepless nights recently trying to get around these issues. We've now got the cam belt cover back on. That makes a massive difference. I absolutely hate them cam pulleys being on shore. That cover just really neatens that up nicely. So yeah, plans going forward then. It's going to be getting a full oil change, hopefully this coming weekend. I'm going to put the proper Ford oil in this time, I think. Last time I just put, it was the correct stuff for this engine from the local parts suppliers, but it was a cheaper stuff. So I'm going to put a genuine Ford filter on, genuine Ford oil in it. And the plugs that it's got in, 3 of them are genuine Ford, 1 of them is a Bosch plug. And basically that was due to the fact when we were setting it up, one of the plugs kept getting wet because it was overfueling at times, and we ended up wrecking a plug. So it's got 3 Ford plugs in and 1 Bosch plug, 1 original plug that was in the engine when I got it. So I've now got a brand new set of plugs to go in it as well, just to sort that out. I'll get them all gapped and fitted. So yeah, full service for it, and then we can just start using it. I also have some other little jobs to do. Caster angles need a little bit more caster. There's nothing wrong with the way it drives, but it's just something I want to do. I need to get a spare wheel for the alloy wheel I've got for the boot, and hope that fits in the well. It needs sun visors. I haven't actually got sun visors in it at the moment. I'm going to see if I can get some black sun visors for it, because it's a bit of a nightmare when it's sunny. And I think that's about it really. There's nothing really much else to do. It's pretty much there now. I've just got to hope that the little changes that Jonathan made yesterday regarding the cold start have resolved it, because he basically made a couple of little changes in the map to try and help it start better when it's cold, because I think we were having issues with sensors syncing, but I'm not too worried about that. That's something we can easily iron out in the long run. But yeah, absolutely still chuffed to bits. I really, really am. I'm over the moon with how everything went, and onwards and upwards. So Anthony has got me a great deal on this through Arnold Clark. This is the proper genuine Ford Castrol Magnatec oil for the ST170s. It was always my intention to run it on the good stuff once I got it all set up and running properly. He's also got me a 4 more core genuine Ford oil filter, that's obviously this weekend's job. Now it is currently running on this stuff here, which is the correct specification. It's from our local parts suppliers, but it is obviously a cheaper oil. And it was always my intention to use the cheaper oil just while I get the main and big end bearings to bed in, because that's the only thing that's really been changed on the engine. Everything else is original. So now that it's done quite a few 100 miles and we've been thrashing it about a bit, it's been on the rolling road, it's now set up properly, we're going to put the good stuff in. So that's this weekend's job, or one of this weekend's jobs to get on with. So today, me and Anthony are on our way to Preston, which is around about 2 hours away, to pick up an ST170 engine, which will be good to be used as a spare. Just spotted it on Facebook Marketplace last night, so thought, you know, 200 quid, it's too good to miss. So that's where we're going. I'll let you see it when we finally pick it up. Well, that's us on the M6 now. We've picked up the engine. There's loads of really useful bits on it. It'll certainly come in handy. So yeah, that's I'll let you have a better look at it when we get back. True hillbilly style in the back of the car. And here we are, back home, just before I put this ST170 away in a gap I've got under the bench that the engine that's in the Escort now sat for 2 to 3 years-ish while I was doing the bodywork. This one's going in its place. So why have we went and got another ST170 when we've got a perfectly good one in the Escort? Well, I'll explain why. These days, these things are getting put in absolutely everything. They're turning up in Anglias, Cortinas, Mark 1 and 2 Escorts, kit cars, you name it. They're the kind of go-to engine these days because it's good cheap power, you know. For a couple hundred quid, I only paid 200 for this one, as I mentioned. You've got, you know, some people say they're 170, other people say they didn't make anywhere near 170. I don't know really, but what I do know is bolt a few items onto them, such as an exhaust and throttle bodies, and you can get really good power out of these for a fraction of the cost that you would pay to do the same thing to a Pinto. Because obviously you've got to start upgrading Pintos, all the internals, and you're talking big bills. Whereas these, you get them for a couple hundred quid, bolt a couple of parts on that you've probably already got from your previous engine, and away you go. So if I ever have any major issues with the Escort, which I don't expect I should have, because everybody keeps telling me how bulletproof the Z-Techs and the ST170s are, then, you know, if that's fantastic, I've got a spare. Not only that, they're only going to go up in value, these. These are only going to get more expensive. You know, once upon a time, you could pick up a Cosworth motor for, you know, 500 or 600 quid. Now you're paying, you know, a good few grand for them, you know, maybe 5 grand upwards. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to go to that kind of, you know, dizzy heights. But what I will say is you can get them for £200, £300, £400 now. And I bet any money at all that a couple of years' time, you'll be paying £1,000 upwards for these. You know, maybe £1,500 or so to get a decent one. So I thought, while it's there at a decent price, we would pick it up, bring it back. We've got it as a spare. There's loads and loads of really useful parts on it. It's come with the coil pack, you know, cam sensors, crank sensors. It's come with the VVT solenoid. You know, a lot of the inlet stuff won't be used. That's just going to get all unbolted. But the good thing is I've got a spare sitting there. If anything ever goes wrong with my own engine, it's going to cost very little to swap all my bits over from that engine onto this one after a good clean up and paint. You know, cam belt changed, water pump, all the usual stuff. And then I've got another engine to batter around in for a couple of hundred quid, you know. So if you do blow one up, well, it's no biggie, is it? Because you didn't pay that much for it to start with. Whereas the Mini, where I put about 5 or 6 grand into the engine to get the power it's got, if I blow that up, well, I'm talking big bills to put it back right. That's the beauty of these, you know. They don't cost very much. So if anything goes wrong, you just think to yourself, well, it's not a big bill to sort it out, is it? It's just a case of getting another one of these, or as we have here, we've got a spare, and we can just fire it right in. So the idea of this was, me and Anthony went halves for it. If Anthony needs it in future, then obviously we've went halves. He would probably just give me the difference, or if I ever need it, I'll give him the difference. The good thing is, it's there, it's a spare, we've got it while they're cheap, and it's going to take no harm. Sat underneath my bench there, just behind the axle stand, behind them red drawers, and it's always there if we need it. Another thing it's good for as well, I must say, let's say we have an injector fail, it's got the injectors in. We have a sensor fail, it's got the sensors in. My cam cover keeps reacting, so I'm going to actually take the cam cover off this and get it powder coated to match the Escort. And then I've got a spare one while I'm getting that done. I've got one on it rather while I'm getting that one done. So yeah, there's loads. The list is endless of, you know, what this will come in handy for. It really will help us in the long run. Well guys, what can I say? I'm absolutely overwhelmed with the power figures there. I really am. I hoped to get maybe high 180s, low 190s, something like that. I would have been chuffed to bits with that, but to make 196, I'm flabbergasted. And the car really does drive amazingly well now. It picks its ass up through the gears so much better than it did before. But it nearly was another failed dyno day, as I mentioned, because we got there, we got it on the rollers, we got it strapped down, we got the lambda sensor, the wideband rather, sensor connected into the exhaust. Jonathan started going through the low end again, just after we altered the cam timing. There was a couple of little adjustments to make at the bottom end, but not a lot. And then as soon as it come to going into the higher end, sort of over 4,000 RPM, Jonathan says, I don't know what's happening. He says it's just going lean all the time. And he says, now threw loads of fuel in and it's still very lean. And he said, generally when that happens, that means that there's an underlying problem, generally like a fuel starvation problem. Maybe the fuel pump wasn't quite delivering the fuel consumption that it needed. So it was a bit of a panicky moment. And I kind of got my head into it and I thought, if it fails this time, it still drives nice. I'm just going to enjoy it and I'll have to come back at a later date, you know, maybe next year or whatever. So I got my head into a better place. I wasn't going to be downhearted again. And then Jonathan said what he generally does is he hits the button 2 or 3 times to up the fuel in stages. And he says it's still running lean. And he jumped out and he says, right, he says, I've just hit that button 10 times. Let's see what difference that makes. And he jumped out the car after that run and he says, that's definitely made a massive difference. It's going in the right direction. I think we just need to keep going. And he threw loads and loads more fuel in, and we were making consistently around about 145, 150 brake horsepower, which is a bit poor to be honest. And as soon as he got the fuel in upped, we did a run at 180. I said to Jonathan, is that an unusual amount of fuel you threw in there? You know, should it be that high? He says, oh no, not necessarily. He says, that's you know, it's not unusual. No, he says it's just. I think he just didn't expect the original base map to be so far out. But anyways, yeah, it made 180, and then Jonathan said, right, I think it's actually slipping on the rollers. It's actually wheel spinning on the rollers. So he jumped out. He pulled the straps tighter to hold the car down tighter onto the rollers. Jumped back in, and we hit 196 as you're saying. And I was chuffed to bits because I thought, right, we haven't even done the exhaust timing yet. This is going to make over 200. And yeah, I mean, over 200 would have been nice, but I'm not at all bothered in total honesty, because it's well powerful enough. It's fun to drive, I've got to say. Yeah, like I say, it would have been nice to get over the 200 mark without any further mods, but I'm not bothered. I'm not going to take it any further than that, to be honest. I'm going to leave it like that because it runs so nice. So yeah, it is what it is, and I'm chuffed to bits with it. I really am. So it just shows you, you know, a little bit of extra pressure on the straps on the rollers can make that big difference from 180 up to 196. Amazing. Anyways, couple of massive thank yous. Big thank you to Riggtech again for taking the car back out. He only took me one way this time because I decided I'm going to drive it back because everything went well. Why not? It was the weather wasn't too bad on the day, so I decided, yeah, I'm going to drive it home. Big thanks to Anthony again for a lot of the footage you've seen is from my mate Anthony from his GoPro. Big thanks to Jonathan at JDM Dyno. Anyone in the Cumbria area will probably know of JDM Dyno, but if you don't, definitely give him a try because he's very, very good at what he does and he's very, very thorough. He won't let anything beat him in the long run. And a big thank you also to Retro Ford, because Retro Ford, as I mentioned earlier, they sent me out a spare, it's the VVT cam pulley, and also a spare cam sensor, both brand new for me to try, you know, when I was eliminating the issues it's got. In the end, it didn't end up being any of them, but I'm really appreciative towards Retro Forge for having the, you know, having the faith in me to send them parts out, knowing fine well that I'll look after them. So if you're watching, guys, I'll be sending them parts back to you this week, and it's a massive thank you for me for sending them out to me. So anyways, I've just actually got back from a show today. It's first show at Total Retro in Kendal. Car got some fantastic comments, a lot of people surrounding it. It was a fantastic day, the weather was great. I'm still buzzing now from it, to be honest. Car drove there and back, 3 hours in total, an hour and a half there, an hour and a half back, with no issues. It's just been a fantastic day. I'm in a bit of a high at the minute. I've also had a couple of drinks, so that helps. Anyways, guys, thanks very much for watching. I'll hopefully see you again very soon with some more updates. I don't know what the next video will be. It shouldn't be too far away. I don't know what it'll be, what the content will necessarily contain, but I'll be back very shortly, guys, with another update. Thanks for watching.